Welcome to SCC Online. I am Avni Jain, a student ambassador at Eastern Book Company and SCC Online. Currently, I am pursuing BA LLB Honours from Department of Law, Prestige Institute. Our guest for today is a commercial dispute resolution lawyer. She has specialized in the field of arbitration laws. She mainly deals with matters pertaining to commercial contracts, Arbitration and Conciliation Act, Companies Act, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, and so on. She is also a former associate of serial Amarchand Mangaldas and has also worked with Mr. Shrikant Dvijode for considerable number of years. She has represented several clients in international and domestic arbitration and has also advised several large corporations and high net worth individuals in several disputes. Presently, she is working as an independent counsel in commercial courts and is also a panel lawyer for the state government of Madhya Pradesh. It is with great pleasure that I welcome Ms. Preena Salgia to our interview. Welcome, ma'am. So let's dive straight over the questions which we are to discuss in our interview. After your graduation, you begin to work with Serial Amarchand Mangaldas, which is a tier 1 law firm. Please tell us how you got the opportunity to work with CAM and your experience with aforesaid law firm.
So, right after my law school, I started working with this law firm in Delhi. And that law firm primarily dealt with, it had a great general corporate practice. But I wanted to get into dispute resolution at the earliest opportunity. And I kept applying to various places, including CAM Mumbai. And luckily enough, I got a call from them. And that's when I quit my law firm in Delhi and immediately moved to Mumbai and joined CAM's dispute resolution team. Quite great in a lot of respects. So firstly, CAM introduced me to arbitration. And the team that I was working with, my seniors, they were quite quite accomplished in that field themselves. And it was a great place to be initiated into that field. Secondly, working at CAM, especially when you're straight out of law school or just a few months out of law school, it gave me a lot of discipline and sort of work culture, which as a student, none of us really have. So that's one aspect of CAM that I'm really thankful to them for. Apart from that, I got to work on a lot of litigations and arbitrations. And I also luckily got the opportunity to brief a renowned senior counsel of Singapore as well in an SIAC arbitration. So these are some aspects which I'm quite happy about. And I look back at my time with CAM quite fondly, to be honest. It also taught me a lot of things about accuracy, precision. A single document that would be issued by the team would be reviewed by at least 3 people. And especially my seniors, they taught me the importance of simple things like punctuations and formatting as well, apart from the main content. So these are things that people usually ignore, but working in such a place gives you an insight into why such aspects are important. It also taught me the importance of writing in the profession, how continuous scholarly publications and article writing is essential, even when you get into the practice of an advocate after you graduate. So, yes.
What are the preliminary requirements for a fresh graduate to join a tier 1 law firm? What law firms generally expect from their prospective candidates?
So, for a fresh graduate to join a tier 1 law firm, these law firms have their own campus placement processes, which are fairly standardized and in place. What campus recruiters look for is mostly good grades. So you need to be in your top certain percentage of the class, 10 to 15%. They also look at good co-curriculars, so your moot court experiences, your paper publication, and the quality of those paper publications. And they also sort of look at if you have shown any particular interest in a subject matter or an area of law, and they look at your CV and try to see if that's also something that's there that will give you an edge over the others. So these are the aspects. But having said that, working in a tier one law firm is is not, the doors for students don't necessarily close if these firms don't come to your campus. You know, these firms have a very strong lateral hiring policy, which I just mentioned. In this policy, they hire people from other law firms and other practicing advocates. And even if as a fresh graduate, you don't start with one of these law firms, you can always eventually get there, depending on how you build your profile.
So, according to you, what role does legal research play during law graduation?
Legal research. For law students to get an insight into any area of law, it's very important that they experiment during their law school years. They try and test out various subject matters and see what interests them and see what they would like to pursue further once law school is done. So legal research sort of helps them in that endeavor. It opens their minds to newer areas of law, and there are various avenues for getting this kind of exposure through legal research for law students. Moot courts give you that opportunity. Writing papers and publications, they give you that opportunity. Internships with law firms, lawyers, judges, they give you these internships. Law school projects, if you take them seriously, they give you that internship. They give you that opportunity. So I think students should take that opportunity very seriously and explore as much as they can through legal research while they're still in law school.
Seeing that you are a commercial dispute resolution lawyer and you've also specialized in arbitration law, please guide us about the career in ADR and the initial prerequisites and also the essential course of action which a law student can follow right from the law school so as to pursue a career in alternative dispute resolution.
Concerned, alternate dispute resolution includes not just arbitration, but also mediation and conciliation. But as far as the scope for ADR for lawyers currently is concerned, arbitration is probably one with the maximum scope. There are people who already specialize, there are firms and there are teams in law firms who already specialize in this, and there are also independent counsels who take up only arbitration matters. So this is something this field is going to only grow in the coming years because that's the trend that you're seeing in the past decade. Now, if students want to pursue this particular field, first they should definitely get a taste of what it actually means to work on arbitration once they're out of law school. So internships in that sense play a very important role in introducing the students to the practical aspects of arbitration. There are Indian law firms that provide these internships. You can intern under independent practicing counsels who specialize in arbitration. You can also take up internships with these arbitration institutions. Some of them give internships to students. And then you can also intern with some retired judges who are constantly appointed as arbitrators, and you can maybe assist them in their work. So these sort of internships will give you an exposure. Apart from this, the students can consider taking up certain online certified courses to boost up their CV if they want to specialize in arbitration. They can also so you should definitely try and go for moot court competitions, which where the moot problem is based on arbitration. There are several such moots nationally and internationally, which give you that opportunity. And I cannot stress enough the importance of writing in building up your CV. You have to get good publications. You have to come out with quality articles, and the more you do it in the field of your interest, the more your CV gets built in that direction. So, yeah, that would be my advice.
Okay, according to you, is there any global scope in alternative dispute resolution? And do you think international ADR law firms hire lawyers from foreign nations?
Yes, they definitely do. Arbitration is one of those branches of law which you can definitely practice on a global scale. So, if somebody wants to do that, if that's their focus area, then apart from building their CV in that particular direction, they can definitely seek out opportunities to work directly with foreign law firms after college. These foreign law firms offer traineeship contracts to students immediately after completion of their law school. So that is something that students can look out for. Apart from that, even if they don't opt for that or they don't get the opportunity, they can go for an LLM which specializes in arbitration. There's a institute, there's a course that's offered called MIDS in Geneva. That's the best course available so far. There are a couple of other institutes. There's one in Stockholm. There's one in US, if I'm not, it's in Florida, which offers specialized courses in arbitration. So doing that opens doors for you to even then get absorbed by foreign law firms in their arbitration team. So yes, there is a lot of scope for that, and many people that I know have taken that course.
There are nerve-wracking occasions where enough options are not open through campus placements. So, what would be your advice to these students who couldn't get placed to their campus? Also, please suggest us further opportunities for them.
So if someone doesn't land up with a job from college placements, it doesn't necessarily doom his career or her career, and people should really stop believing that. It's obviously easier to get it through your campus placements, but it's a reality. The fact is that not many people do, and I understand that that pressure that students feel. But firstly, what they should do is they should at least broadly figure out the area which they want to work in. So if they feel like they want to ultimately get into litigation, ultimately appear in courts and argue, then the method that they should apply should be slightly different. If they feel like they wish to be a part of a law firm, whether in the dispute resolution team of that law firm or in some general corporate team or some other team, then there would be a different set of approach that these guys should take. As far as litigation is concerned, there are varying approaches on how to start, but many people suggest that you should join a very good counsel, even if you're straight out of law school. Try and look for a good chamber to join, and stick around in that chamber for a significant period of time, learn, and then eventually venture out on your own. Some people in litigation adopt a slightly different approach. They first join a litigation firm, and then they eventually get into counsel practice, or if they like their job in the litigation firm, then they continue in that firm itself. So that's the route that these guys could possibly take. If people want to join law firms, there are many opportunities available for them. The thing that they need to do is constantly constantly keep applying, keep looking for opportunities, keep touching base with these people in law firms after sending their applications, and be willing to go and meet them in person if required, give an interview in person if that's what the law firm needs. And one needs to understand that there are always people can always switch after some time from one job to another. So even if they start out with a firm which might not be a tier one law firm, like you say, they can always start out with a smaller firm, and if they want, then eventually apply to some other firms, the firms of their choice, after say a year or 2 years of gaining experience. So what that does is it gives it gives it gives these firms the option of evaluating you from your work experience and not just your college CV, and uh, that's a very that's a very if they're aware of.
So you're also a panel lawyer for the state government of Madhya Pradesh. So please tell us how panel lawyers are different from government advocates, and what are the requirements to become a panel lawyer? And please also guide us about their duties and responsibilities.
Okay. So these are certain concepts which, as a law student, I was not aware of. But governments have their own set of lawyers which represent them in any case in which a government is pleaded before the High Court and even before other courts. State governments have their own panel. The union government has their own set of lawyers, and various other government organizations have such a fixed panel of lawyers. For instance, the municipal corporations, your development authorities, and so on. So, especially in the state of MP, how it works is that there are certain government advocates who are appointed for a minimum tenure. It's usually 1 year, which can be renewed later on. In that tenure, the government advocates are on the are on a fixed pay, monthly pay of the government, and they get to represent the government in the High Court and argue matters on behalf of the government. Apart from the government advocates, there's something called a panel of lawyers, at least here in the High Court. If you're on the panel, then if the need arises, you may be given work on a given day, and you get compensated for that on the basis of the number of days that you worked or the number of cases that you've been allotted. It depends. So as a government advocate, or as a panel lawyer, what you usually end up doing is you obviously appear in courts and you argue on behalf of the state government. But apart from that, you're also responsible for um, drafting pleadings on behalf of the state government in these matters. So if there's a writ, then you are again, which is filed against the state, then you're required to draft a reply to it. There are various opinions which of officers of the state government need. You're required to draft those opinions. So these are some of the requirements of these are some of the duties which government advocates are required to do, and panel lawyers usually assist government advocates in doing their duties. And as far as appointment is concerned, these are uh, the panel and government advocates are appointed by the state government. So yeah.
Is there any exam for being a panel lawyer?
No.
Okay. So I think one takeaway which I had from what you just said is that a panel lawyer is also an open opportunity for all those students who are uh, who want to pursue their career in litigation just after their graduation.
Yes, if you can get appointed to one of these panels through the government, then definitely it's a great opportunity.
Many pressure want to pursue a career in litigation. Still, they resist owing to the monetary uncertainty which comes alongside. Could you tell supplementary options which these freshers can pick so as to survive in their initial years of practice?
That's a very fair question. A lot of people who want to do litigation sometimes shy away from jumping into it because of the financial limitations, at least in the initial few years. So, if somebody doesn't have the means to support themselves or is not fortunate enough to have a strong financial background, then what they can probably do is they can work with a law firm for some time. They can build a corpus, and after a couple of years, once they feel like uh, they have built enough corpus, they can get into litigation. Uh, they should have funds sufficient to survive them for about a year or 2 years at least, because the gestation period in litigation is fairly long sometimes, and it's expecting financial rewards at the initial stage um, is not really the right approach. So you should definitely, that's one option that you can consider, joining a law firm, saving up, and then going into litigation. Apart from that, there are certain organizations which have come up, like the alumni of my college started this organization called CAN Foundation, which are also supporting certain students who are extremely meritorious, but who are unfortunately from a less privileged background, and they are supporting, but they want to do litigation. So they are supporting these students by giving a sort of monthly stipend to these students, so for a certain amount of time, so that they can survive in litigation. Apart from that, when you join a chamber, um, the your senior then gives you some form of compensation, which obviously varies from one chamber to the other. So you can, if that's a major factor, then you can choose a chamber which gives you a better opportunity in that respect. Apart from that, if you can get on the panel of one of these organizations, that would also be a good way for you to learn. At the same time, it can give you at least a limited financial security. And lastly, you should definitely, once you should definitely focus on learning as quickly as you can, and then building up your own client base. Sometimes the chamber that you join, your senior really supports you if that senior likes your work, and that gives you a boost to generating your own work, or generating your own uh, client base and remuneration. So these are some of the options that are available, I believe, to people who want to litigate.
Lots of law firms deal with such areas of law which are now entirely established, yet some areas of law are still evolving. For instance, sports law, aviation law, etc. Please tell us such areas of law which you think are yet to evolve and which might offer opportunities in coming years.
That's your assessment is quite fair. Sports law is coming up quite a bit. I know a couple of people who've after graduation and after working for some time in India, have gone for their masters and have done their masters in sports law. It's definitely an upcoming field. There are also specialized arbitral tribunals for sports law um, cases. Um, One is based in Switzerland. So that is also an option one can consider. Obviously, that's a very, very highly specialized and niche area. Apart from this, In alternate dispute resolution, while mediation is as of now not a very um, as of now doesn't have as much scope as arbitration does for lawyers, but mediation is definitely an um, upcoming area which uh, lawyers could eventually focus on. And apart from that, you should keep an eye out for latest developments which are happening. For instance, once the data protection bill gets finally enacted, that is an area of law which will require expertise, because data protection uh, also requires some sort of technical understanding of how technology and technology industry works. So that's an area which I think will become big in the coming years. And then, for instance, the IBC came out a couple of years ago, and it's still evolving. There are amendments every few months. So um, that's also an area that you can look at. People are already establishing themselves in this area, but that's always something that you can look at.
With this, we have come to end of our interview. So, ma'am, is there any parting message you want to give to our viewers?
So, to the student viewers, which I assume is the main target audience here, I would like to say that you should try and experiment and explore as many subject areas of law as you can during your initial years in college. And by the time you come in your third to fourth year, you should sort of have a broad area of uh, broad subject area which you could see yourself possibly doing after law school, and you should then start and build your profile towards that area. And if you've chosen an area, or and you don't know how to go about building your profile, you should definitely look out for people who are doing well in that area. Reach out to them, talk to them, take advice from them. uh, you should never shy away from doing that, because I remember when I was in law school, I was quite afraid of approaching people whom I didn't already know and seek advice. But I feel that's very important, especially at that particular stage in your career. And you can always, if you ultimately don't enjoy doing that once you're out of law school, you can always make a switch. But to have a strong footing once you're out of the law school, you should definitely try and narrow down an area or two areas where you would like to work on, and then build your profile in that area. It would give you an edge over the others. So yeah, that's my advice.
Okay. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today.
Thanks, Avni. It was great talking to you.